It is Sunday, June 12th. Good morning, everybody. Eric from the Gear Lockers here. I'm Kevin the Tack Daddy checking in from South Florida, and we are reporting what everyone's talking about this morning. The worst mass shooting in U.S. history has occurred. Orlando, Florida this morning, 2 a.m. Eric and I have all the details. We've been talking about it. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
Hi. It's crazy. You know, we text each other on such a regular basis within our Gun News Weekly chat, and to get this thing first thing in the morning and hear 23 people, killed in the gun, that was the first number that we saw. And then to literally just moments ago, you and I watching the press conference and getting chills because you think about what it takes for someone to do what this dude did. So let's just get right into it and go back and forth on some details. Let me give the basics, and then I'm going to go to you because I know you have some info about, you've been watching some other things than I have. Sure. The Pulse Nightclub in Orlando, Florida was the site last night of a Latin night, and it's also Gay Pride weekend. So you're talking about 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm sure lots of spirits, lots of liquor, lots of fun. And all of a sudden a shooter who has now been identified. You have the name.
Yeah, his name is Omar Martin, 29 or 30 years old. They say from New York, born in 86, now lives in Port St. Lucie, or lived.
Which is about 80 miles north of where I live, another 80 miles up or so to Orlando, just for reference. And this guy walks in and, by all accounts of the latest from the FBI report, the FBI guy at the press briefing, reported that he walked in with some sort of an AR-15 type weapon and a handgun, and at 2 a.m. in the morning started shooting. There was a off-duty police officer running security at the club, by all accounts. They exchanged fire. The SWAT team came in at 5 a.m. So 3 hours later, there was an explosion. A diversionary device was set off. They entered. They took out the shooter. That's by all accounts so far. The timeline's a little hazy on what happened in between 2 and 3 a.m. at this point. I mean, 2 and 5.
Yeah, those 5 hours, they don't know. There's one gentleman they've interviewed multiple times, or at least on multiple cable news networks I've seen. Same guy. He was there. A lot of out-of-towners, he said, was there too because of being at Gay Pride weekend. And he couldn't tell at first if it was the base. So a lot of people, I'm sure, didn't know the shots were being fired. Probably thought it was the music or couldn't hear it at all, depending where they were in the club. They don't know how many rounds of ammunition he had on him. They are still going through his vehicle with a robot, so they're not sure if he has any more explosive type devices in his vehicle.
Yeah, they talked about a device still on him as well. They still really haven't gotten into whether that was any type of an explosive device or something else. They just called it a device.
Right. They also, one of the news networks mentioned they've actually talked to his father already.
Yeah.
And that the father was horrified, apologized on behalf of the family, but also thinks one possible theory is that he saw two men kissing several months ago in Orlando, and he thinks that could have been the catalyst for this many months later. So
for him to mention that right away, I would think that, immediately when he heard this thing happen, immediately he heard it was his kid, he probably immediately said, "Oh my God."
Yeah, maybe he's talked about it with his father. Maybe he became, who knows, maybe he became more radicalized or more conservative as, compared to his father, maybe. And I'm sure they've had these type of discussions, and his father probably was very surprised at his views based on maybe how he grew up.
Yeah, it's a terrifying situation. And the news is already reporting. And again, we're Gun News Weekly. What do we think about right away? The guns, what was used, was it obtained illegally versus illegally? All those types of things are yet to be found. But they've already stated on CNN, he was radicalized and had access to the weapons. And I think that, again, gun grabbers and anti-gunners are going to go down that road of, well, if he didn't have access, this would have never happened, and things like that. You're talking about, once again, this is what's being quoted as the worst mass shooting in the history of the United States. This is the real deal. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and Eric, I kind of pointed this out when we were talking, for anyone that's unfamiliar with the Orlando area, and this is downtown Orlando, but Orlando is an international hub for Disney, SeaWorld,
Universal.
You're talking about companies that spend millions and millions of dollars to get people to come there to vacation. School is out. I'm sure that the whole town is freaking out right this morning. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you just go on to Disney World and have, act like your day is peaches? This is scary shit. This also follows up something that happened in Orlando yesterday that we need to mention. I don't know the girl's name, Eric.
I'll find out.
You could help me out. It's
give me a second.
Contestant from The Voice, a young girl who came in third place on The Voice a few seasons back, was at a concert, performed, and then went to an autograph signing table where I guess she was probably selling merchandise and that type of thing. And a deranged fan comes up, shoots her. Her brother tackles him. He then turns the gun on himself and kills himself.
So her name was Christina Grimmie, Grimmie. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. Something also to think about too is it's also Ramadan. There was a shooting in Tel Aviv at the beginning of Ramadan as well. So I'm curious to see if it's also a window where if people are self-radicalized across the world, if you're gonna start seeing some more incidents because of just the time frame. I'm not,
in the alternative media, they've been talking about the homegrown terrorists for a long time, but they've always been saying it's going to be an angry vet or this, you know what I mean? Like that's what you always hear. And now all of a sudden this shift, you had San Bernardino, you've had this one. They're obviously radicalized Muslims that are angry and ready to kill people on behalf of the cause. I mean, that's just basically what we're dealing with here. No bullshit aside.
And they don't need to travel overseas. They can go log on to Google. They can go find stuff. I mean, there are apps nowadays that you can log on to radicalize yourself, which is, think about it. It's scary that with all the good of the internet and social media, there's a lot of dark and evil that lurks in there as well. And if you want to find that stuff, you can.
I think you're going to get, I think there's going to be a backlash here. I think there's going to be a huge uproar of people who are just angry in general right now about the election stuff, the Trump stuff, the Hillary stuff, just all of it.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of people get pretty pissed off. I want to take 1 second and again, our condolences to all the families that are going to have to deal with this. One of the texts that I sent to you guys this morning, I think I sent it to you. Maybe I didn't. There was an image of a back and forth text between someone who literally was knowing that their life was going to be in jeopardy very soon and talking back and forth with the parent. And then the text got cut off. And shoot, if 50 people died, according to that text, I'm pretty sure that person probably was one of the victims. It's going to be very scary with social media to see all the emotion that comes out. We here at Gun News Weekly, we want to send our deepest condolences to every family and every person that's been affected by this. We don't want to ever seem like when we're reporting on this that we're belittling the reality of the day in any way. But we also want to make sure that everyone knows that we need to stand united as a country and as team people and team people doing it right out there, no matter what your religion or your background is. They're bad people out there and they want to do bad things, and it's up to us to be prepared and stay vigilant. Eric, you got any other thoughts before we jump off here?
Speedy recovery to the officer that got shot in the head. Thank goodness he had a helmet on.
Yes.
Speedy recovery to those victims, and I hope the families get reunited with their family members that they can't account for, because hopefully there's some good stories that come out of this. People helping people from a first aid perspective. Hopefully there's some good that comes out of this as too, on some level.
I noticed tourniquets right away during the footage this morning when they're carrying people. I was looking to see, okay, what did they use? I saw a bandana, I saw a belt.
Yep.
I saw a couple things, and there's plenty of footage on the internet if you guys want to go check it out. Some of it is graphic. But again, with the cell phone nation that we have, there's people that pulled out their phones and were showing the trauma center right there. What had become the staging for the trauma. So again, our deepest condolences. We're brought to you all day, every day on Gun News Weekly by Kenai Pro Gear. You can get it over at everydaycarrylife.com. Go check it out. It's quality stuff, and we do appreciate them supporting us. And again, Eric, thanks for jumping on with me on a Sunday morning. I hope you have a great day regardless of this. I'll see you Thursday night. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about between now and then.
Busy week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, thanks again for jumping on. Thanks for everybody for watching. Please share this with your friends. Get it out on Facebook. Let people know that there's guys like us reporting on the gun news of the day. For Gun News Weekly, Kevin the Tac Daddy checking out. Later, Eric.
See you.